The F1 Academy recently had a new series launched on Netflix, and with this series they already have one up on bigger categories like F3 or F2 or even IndyCar. So with this happening, they're finally supposed to be having a good representation in motorsports. They have the F1 Academy itself, they have the F1 teams helping drivers and teams, and they also have the massive media coverage and marketing campaigns. So surely the women are climbing into F1, right? Wrong. Well, there are actually major issues with the system in F1, and today I'm going to be presenting you the problems and also presenting you my solutions on how to fix that. And also I'm going to be presenting my opinions and my solutions on how maybe we could make it a bit better. I'm Turo, and let's get started. First of all, we actually have to start with the history, and we gotta start off with W Series, which is like what F1 Academy was before it was known as F1 Academy. Its first full championship started in 2019, obviously as an all-female single-seater championship, and it would go on to take place in 3 different years, that being 2019, the first year, then 21 and 22. They skipped 2020 because I don't have to tell you that we all know what happened in 2020. And on its initial creation, there were actually a lot of mixed reviews on W Series. But initially, it was also revealed that there were some shareholders like a certain David Coulthard or Adrian Newey, one of the most decorated engineers in Formula One history. So they were definitely up to something. It was definitely a serious championship that was taking place now. Regardless of the mixed reviews, it would go on to take place for 3 different years, as I mentioned, and all 3 of them was won by Jamie Chadwick, and we are gonna come back to Jamie Chadwick, so you just remember the name for now. Then when it comes to junior categories, super license is actually a very important topic, and when it comes to W Series, if you won the championship, you won 15 super license points, which isn't a lot, but it's also much better than nothing. It's a decent amount of points, but the problem with that was that you only get 15 points once. So even though Jamie Chadwick won the championship 3 times on 3 different occasions, she only got 15 super license points on total, which means the next 2 titles she didn't get any super license points. She was basically doing it for no super license points. Then the series was cancelled in 2022. It got liquidated prematurely to insufficient funds, which was actually a bit sad to see. And that was the end of W Series. Then not long after, on the 18th of November 2022, Formula One announced the creation of F1 Academy, a racing series for women aiming to focus on developing and preparing young drivers to progress to higher levels of competition. Now I'm paraphrasing that because that's literally what it says on Wikipedia, and I want you to remember that. And then also not long after, on the 1st of March 2023, a certain Susie Wolf was appointed as the managing director for the series. And also from 2024 onwards, which means it was from last year onwards, all 10 teams on the Formula One grid were obligated to support or sponsor at least one team or one driver with having their liveries on the cars, and the rest of the 7 drivers were supported by series partners like Prema, for example. And the F1 Academy Championship uses the F4 chassis, specifically the Tatus F4 T421 chassis, which is used in the Formula 4 Championship. Now, with enough history of F1 Academy, let's go back to the female drivers who have raced in F1, who have paved the way. And the statistic is that there have been a total of 786 drivers to ever race in Formula 1 history, but only 5 of them were women. So first of all, we start with Maria Teresa de Felippis. She was the first woman to set foot in F1, so the first ever female driver in F1 history, which she did in 1958, but she sadly only raced 3 races, but her top finish was actually a P10. She was eventually banned from racing by the director, who said some very sexist stuff that I'm not gonna go over. Then later came Lella Lombardi, who was probably the most known driver on this list here. She is to this day the only woman in F1 history to score points, which she did in 1975. Then came in Divina Galicia, and aside being an F1 driver, she was also the captain of the British skiing team. Then came in Desiree Wilson. She only did 1 race in which she sadly failed to qualify. And then after that we had Giovanni Amati, who is still to this day the last ever woman to race in F1, which she did in 1992. She actually did 3 races but failed to finish all of them, and later on she was replaced by a certain Damon Hill. Now we come into the problem, and as it says on Wikipedia before, F1 Academy and W Series are supposed to bridge the gap for women to F1. That is their sole purpose. And also, as named before, they have massive backings by all the F1 teams and also F2 teams, also including ex-F1 drivers and engineers like Adrian Newey. With W Series, when they first started out, the prize pool was a total of $500,000, but today with F1 Academy, the prize pool is a total of $1.5 million. Now all of this sounds very positive on first hand, but the more you look at it, it just seems like they totally missed the point of what they should have done. Both W Series and F1 Academy as well totally segregated women from the men. Now I would argue that you could go up to any F1 Academy driver and almost all of them would probably say that they want to race alongside men and compete with them and even beat them, but instead they got their own league. They got put in a different separate room. And for women in motorsports, financial backing was the biggest problem. So everyone in F1 Academy and also like in other categories, they all wanted backing, but instead they got the 1.5 million prize pool and also barely any super license points, just to be forgotten. It kind of feels like giving your younger sibling the unplugged controller just to shut him up. Now, to further prove my point, let's go over some drivers currently in motorsports. And let's actually first come back to Jamie Chadwick, who's a 3-time W Series champion, and in all of those 3 seasons, she absolutely Verstappen the grid. She absolutely demolished the rest of the grid. And in those 3 seasons, she got the prize money, she got massive media coverage, but is she in F1 today as she was promised? No. Where the hell is she then? Well, as of for today, she competes for the IDEC Sport in the 2025 European Le Mans Championship. In October 23, it was announced that Jamie Chadwick would return to Andretti Global, or formerly known as Andretti Motorsport, for the 24 Indy NXT season, which is like the Formula 2 of IndyCar. She showed immediate improvement from the previous season, qualifying 10th for the race and inside the top 6 in the next 4 races. So she absolutely has the pace and the talent to be racing amongst men and even doing good and even defeating them. And I mean, yeah, as I said before, Indy NXT is like the sister category, or like the step below or the step before IndyCar, which is good, but it's, at the end of the day, it's not F1 as she was promised. And the next driver is Bianca Bustamante. She was part of the McLaren development program, and last year she was all over the social medias. You probably remember her. She was even in one of those Google ads at some point. But sadly last year she apparently left the McLaren driver development program. And again, just like Jamie Chadwick, as of today, she has been forgotten. It feels sort of brutal. It seems like F1 Academy was like, alright, you got your 50 minutes of fame and now get up. She was basically spat out by both F1 Academy and McLaren. And as of today, she competes in the GB3 Championship for Elite Motorsports. No idea what that is? Me too, and that's the whole point. And with that, she is just another driver sitting, being covered in dust. The next one we have Abby Pulling, last year's F1 Academy champion. She also absolutely Verstappen last year, and she won 9 out of 14 races, which is super impressive on a spec series. She was part of the Alpine affiliate program, and as of today she's competing in the 2025 GB3 Championship for Roadium Motorsport, which means she's racing against or alongside Bianca as well. And just like the others, for her as well, it just seems like she got used as a marketing tool and just got abandoned. Last but not least, we have Sophia Flush, who in my opinion is arguably the best female driver in the motorsport scene right now. And as of now, she is competing in the Indy NXT Championship with HMD Motorsports. She has previously raced in F3 in 4 different seasons actually, and also DTM, and also the World Endurance Championships, and those are some serious racing categories. She is also the only woman on this list who has never gotten any support or backing from W Series or F1 Academy. As far as I know, she's been doing this far before W Series existed. She's been doing this since 2017 as far as I can recall, and she is still very young, only 24 at the time of recording this. In 2023, Flush achieved her and PHN's first points with the 9th place at the Red Bull Ring, only then to lose it by a post-race disqualification. She then went on to make 23 and 29 overtakes respectively across both races at the Hungaroring and Spa-Francorchamps before getting back into the points. And this just proves just how much pace and how much talent she has. Like, no offense to the F1 Academy drivers, but she's clearly miles ahead of the F1 Academy drivers currently. In 2021, she raced in the World Endurance Championship, where she led the team to 5-point finishes and qualified a season best 6 at the 8 hours of Bahrain, ahead of a certain Formula 1 multiple race winner, Juan Pablo Montoya. She also raced twice in Le Mans. Sadly, she didn't finish any of them, but like, you look at that and not any ordinary person just walks into Le Mans and is able to drive. So just to be in Le Mans, there's some serious talent you have to be able to take part. In December last year, she signed a contract with HMD Motorsports to compete in the 2025 Indy NXT Series, shifting her career to the United States-based racing. However, unexpected budget issues meant she had to end her season abruptly after just one race. And again, there's that huge financial backing problem that every woman in motorsport currently faces. And as far as I know, since 2017, she's been constantly fighting her way up to F1. Like, in almost every interview you see, you ask her goals and she just says, my goal is to be in Formula 1. And she was actually asked to race in F1 Academy, but she refused, saying that it's a step down from what she's currently doing. And she also criticized the F1 Academy and also W Series, saying it's not the proper step for women to be in motorsports. And as of today, because of their financial problems, she's unable to race anywhere. So that just shows that it's just not me who's seeing the problem, it's also many other people seeing this problem with F1 Academy, with even people inside it, is even racing drivers criticizing it. And now we come to the solution, or at least my solution. And first of all, I just gotta say, I don't think I'm in no position to actually officially speak on this topic. I'm just a side viewer of what's happening. I don't really know 100% of what's going on inside. This is just from what I see. And with that being said, when we look back at the 3 different champions from W Series and F1 Academy, which are Jamie Chadwick and Marta Garcia and Abby Pauling from last year, and when we look at them today, none of them are in F1 and none of them are even close. They're all miles away from being in F1. They were promised a certain goal, but all of them are so away from what they were promised. Now, I think the first step that F1 Academy and Susie Wolf could just take is just notice that it's not working, it's not the correct step towards F1. So what do they do instead? Well, first of all, just totally end or scrap the championship away. This idea hasn't worked, so just put it in the bin, learn from that, and let these women race in F4 and F3 and hopefully eventually F2 alongside men like they want, like we all want. Give them the financial support, the 1.5 million prize money and all the money from the ad campaign, and like all the support from F1 teams, like whether that be financial or not, like through connections and stuff. Like especially with all the F1 teams, with all the experience they have, with all the financial backings and all the connections they have, they should be able to pull these drivers up just like other men. Like, yes, granted, not every woman in the list is gonna make it to F1. By 2026, there's gonna be only 22 seats in Formula 1, and these drivers are absolutely the best of the best, and Lance Stroll, and these drivers are absolute rarities. Thousands of men have even made it to F2, even did very good in F2. They stood on the doorsteps of F1 and haven't been able to make it. And yeah, that is also gonna be the same case with women, even with the financial backings, but like, let that happen. Like, at the end of the day, that's what motorsport is. It's a very brutal environment. Like, if they are not quick enough for F1, just let them not be able to get into F1, just like other male drivers have, and then they could go on to Formula E or IndyCar or any other categories, WEC for example. And there's also a big problem with the total pool of drivers. Let's say 1 in 1,000 men make it into F1, and that is a very optimistic over exaggeration. But when there's only a total of 100 women racing in motorsports, no, of course none of them will make it into F1, because the total amount of women in motorsports currently, and also because the pool is so small. Like, it's simple mathematics. Like, the more chances you have, the more likely it's gonna happen. Like, with women, given the mathematical amount of drivers, the chances are much lower than a man making it to F1. But with like the rapid increase in interest we have seen by women in motorsports, women will want to race, they will want to get into F1, they will see motorsports and F1 as a possible dream job. Whether that be a driver or just alongside in the pit or as an engineer, they will want to go karting at an earlier age, and all of them would want to race along men. With that, the pool of total drivers trying to make it to F1 just gets bigger, and eventually one will make it. And I think, given how things are shaping up to be, given how things are going, by 2040 I think we will be able to see another woman in F1. We just have to be ready, and when the certain person comes who has the enough talent and the pace to get into F1, we just have to be ready to support them financially and also in connections to get them into F1. Now, don't give me about all the biological differences, or like, oh no, men are just biologically stronger than women, and like F2 and F3 cars have no power steering, and like a woman wouldn't be able to handle all the G-forces in the car. Men are biologically advantageous. Well, if that was the case, all of the previous women in F1 and plus other drivers like Michelle Mouton and Hannah Schmitz and even Sophia Flush are here to prove otherwise. I mean, I'm pretty certain you could go up to any F1 fan, F1 viewer, or people who work in F1, even the drivers, you could ask them, and almost every one of them would want to see a woman racing in F1. I mean, I want to see it, I'm pretty certain you guys want to see it, so we gotta make that happen. At the end of the day, bottom line is that women in racing don't need a series on Netflix, they just need a proper shot at F1. Well, that was all I needed to say today. What do you think of my opinion? What are some of your opinions? How would you make the situation better? Maybe you're also a woman currently in racing and chasing up the ladder to F1. Let me know all of those down in the comment, and I will see you later. I've been Tura, and thanks for watching.